Hello again and welcome back to the channel. Today I have another G.I. Joe classified review for you. This time it is the Snow Serpent. So I picked this guy up from the Big Bad Toy Store. This is how much I paid for him. And so far I am impressed. Look at all those accessories that he comes with. So Snow Serpent is number 93 in the line. Really nice artwork there. On the back, again, a shot of all those accessories. Heaps of stuff. Looks like some reuse there. I'll have a look in a moment. The QR code, all his particulars, and then some nice artwork again. And who's that? Frostbite, maybe? Anyway, let's open it up, take a look. Okay, so here he is with all of his accessories. Definitely a deluxe figure. Take a look at all the accessories that he comes with. He comes with heaps of stuff. Okay, so starting off, Snow Serpent comes with 1 rocket launcher, 4 rockets, a backpack, snowboard, snowshoes, goggles, combat knife, 2 pistols, a submachine gun, an assault rifle, a wolfskin cloak, and a wolfskin headpiece. Okay, so even though he has loads of accessories, there is quite a bit of reuse going on here as well. So first off are the snowshoes. As expected, these are identical to what we got with Snow Job, just in a different colour. So yeah, don't really mind that. But what is a surprise is the backpack, the rocket launcher, and the rockets are all just a recoloured reuse from Bazooka. And it just seems a little bit out of place here. So, I mean, probably not going to display him with it, but it just seems like he doesn't really belong. Apart from that, everything else looks pretty unique, particularly this snowboard. So this is actually quite a nice piece. And surprisingly, they've actually gone with the solid plastic as opposed to the flimsy plastic they've been using with the weapons. Case in point, this is a nice assault rifle, but look at it. I really don't know why they continue to use this flimsy plastic, and with each new figure, it seems to be getting worse. It's a nice sculpt, they've done a nice job with that, but as soon as you get him holding it, it bends up, it warps, it just doesn't look great at all. Likewise with the smaller machine gun, it does have a removable clip, but look at the barrel. It just bends all over the place. The combat knife is a little bit bland. It looks exactly like what we had with Firefly. There's no paint application on it at all, just straightforward matte black. So, not really sure what to make of this. Some nice pistols as well. He does get 2 of these. So, I think sometimes less is more. If you're going to give us this many accessories, you can't just give us no paint application, just reuse. So, I don't know. Anyway. This, I guess, is why most people are going to buy Snow Serpent. This is a really, really nice piece. So this is a wolf's head. You can see the paint applications on the teeth, the gums, the eyes, the snout, really nice. Not much of a wash or a fade on the actual fur itself, but it is quite nicely done. And then we come to this. Yeah, I don't know, I mean, it's okay, I guess. It's just one massive piece of plastic. It is that rubbery plastic, so you can warp it in, and it just pegs directly into his back. So they have been quite thoughtful there. Just get it round his shoulders and then make sure that peg goes straight into his back, like so. And then this just goes over the top. So these goggles are just a soft, rubbery plastic. You can get them on quite easily. So they literally just go over these goggles he has on by default. So just pop them over. And whilst you can get the head set on, or rather the wolf's head on, it is a little bit fiddly to get it on with these goggles. I don't know if that's the look you're supposed to go for, but there we go, Sod's Law did it first time. But trust me, it isn't as easy as it looks. This will push those down. But then saying that, without the goggles on and the headpiece on, it still looks very, very good. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so taking a closer look at the actual figure, let's do a quick comparison. I have here the 25th anniversary edition of Snow Serpent. I had Snow Serpent when I was a kid in the vintage line, but I didn't have this version. It must have been the second version. He had more yellows and purples. I think his snowboard was purple as well. So I didn't actually have the original vintage version of this, and this 25th anniversary is obviously based on that one, and this is based off that. So you can see that they have really done a smashing job here. Everything is very, very similar. They've got the fur in there, the goggles, the webbing. The backpack is obviously different. This time they've given us Bazooka's backpack. The assault rifle is very similar. Snowshoes are different, if you can see them in the back. And then the bazooka, this is more of a mortar rather than a bazooka. So I think rather than sculpt something new, they just thought, oh, throw in Bazooka's rocket launcher, which feels a little bit cheap, but regardless. So this figure, as I suspected, is pretty much the same as Snow Job. Lot of reuse here. And if you've seen that review that I did, I made a comment about Snow Job had these cuts at the cuffs, but there was no articulation. And I thought perhaps they were going to make the Snow Serpents just reuse it with these, and that's exactly what they've done. Or at least it looks like that's what they've done. They've just connected this sculpted fur part across the top. Everything else is pretty much Snow Job. The base model anyway is Snow Job, or rather he is based on this, whichever one came first. The legs are very, very similar. The only difference is these are a slightly darker white or a very, very pale grey. The arms are the same apart from the fur, but still I don't mind because there's enough differences here that it is a standout. Something else which is very apparent as soon as you get it in hand is the weight of it. Similar to Snow Job, a lot of weight to this. And I don't really know why that is. It feels like it's just solid, it really does. When I think about a figure like Bazooka, who's probably just as big, he didn't have that heft to him that these ones have. The figure itself is very nice in hand. It really, really has something about it. I particularly like the webbing. It is all separate, but it is fixed on, so you can't actually take this off unless you was to cut it. Likewise with the fur, it's really nicely sculpted and it is fixed on. The webbing just goes underneath. The fur on the shoulders and then on the cuffs, all well done indeed. There is some slight difference between the coloration. The fur around the collar is more of a very pale yellow, whereas on the cuffs, you've got the pale yellow on the back, but not so much on the front, but it's no big deal. The only thing really that I will say about this figure that for me is a negative is when he's loaded out, he can be a little bit cumbersome, a little bit difficult to manage. And I'll see if I can demonstrate. First off, these goggles. Now the goggles, they go over really, really easily. And then with the headpiece on, and then the cloak, and the cloak just pegs right in at the back there. There we go. Now note the peg hole here on the actual cloak. That is for his backpack. So loaded out with the rockets, and then the rocket launcher, you can actually get that on his back, but it's quite a lot. He's quite top heavy there. He will stand up, but he's literally just a gust of wind away from falling over. And if you add more accessories to him, you've put more like weapons. He's already got his sidearms in the holsters here, but if you put more, it's just going to be a little bit overburdened. But with the snowshoe, similar to Snow Job, it kind of mitigates that. So popping these on. And these actually do have a left and a right, so you probably can't see that. But on the inside, it has a left and a right. There we are. So they do help. They don't help as much as they did with Snow Job. There is still a little bit of issues to him, but it does help him stand up. So there's just a lot going on here, and the look is really, really cool. But for me, I think it's just a bit too much. There's just way too much going on. As much as I like it, I just prefer the stripped down look. I think this is the look that I prefer. Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of this either. It's okay. I guess if I hadn't seen it twice now, I'd be like, oh, it's pretty cool. But because I'm just kind of over this bazooka. But there we go. Okay, so before we take a look at the articulation, I forgot to mention the dagger, or rather the combat knife. This is a little bit unusual. I don't recall ever getting a classified figure so far. I don't have them all, but I do have a lot that comes with a dagger, but there's no sheath. At first I thought I've just missed it. It's on his boot. No, maybe it's on his leg. Nope. Perhaps it's in this webbing. No, it isn't. So it's kind of unusual. I really don't know where it goes. I mean, yeah, you can hold it easily enough. And it's not really a problem. It's just a minor grumble, just a bit of a weird one. It seems like they've just packed in stuff just so he's then a deluxe figure. But this combat knife, yeah, just stick it in there or something. There you go. That actually doesn't look too bad. Yeah. Okay, so articulation. One thing I'll say about these newer figures that I've noticed is they're quite stiff. Now, I would much rather have a stiff figure than a loose figure, but when it comes to this figure, it is ridiculously stiff, particularly at the knees and the elbows. So he does have a double jointed knee, so we'll start there. Down one, that's fine, but then this one, this top one, it's really, really tight. I've actually had it under the hairdryer for probably about 40 seconds or so, and this one is the same. I actually thought I was going to break it at first. It's really, really tight. There we go. And then the elbow, not as tight, but similar sort of issue. Man, there we go. So double jointed knee, double jointed elbow. It looks like I might have actually damaged it there, look. At the ankle, you do get some side to side and then some forwards and backwards, but he doesn't have a boot cut. He does have a cut at the thigh. He does have drop down legs, but it's very, very slight. You can't really get much movement. He's got this separate floating piece here, so you can actually move him at the hips, and this manipulates that quite well. It doesn't actually hinder it. Ab crunch, forwards, he's got virtually nothing because of the webbing. That's about as far as he's going. Yeah. But then back, he does get a decent amount back. And then the shoulders, this is the same as what we've seen so far on every figure, the butterfly joint, and it isn't actually hindered by the sculpting of the fur here or on the shoulder. If you have it up too much, there is a little bit of impact, but if you manipulate it down, it's totally fine. He also has the bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, as I said earlier, and then he does have complete rotation and some forwards and backwards at the peg, but it is slightly hindered because of the cuff of the fur. And also, this doesn't move. Snow Jobs was the same. There was a cut. You can't see the cut here. It looked like it moved, but it didn't, and this is the same. It doesn't move at all. And then finally, for the head, he's got a peg down below and a peg up above, so you can move the neck independently to the head. He gets full rotation, and then down to about there, and then up to about there. So the articulation is really good for this figure. And in terms of scale, here he is next to Snow Job, Action Force Desert Rat, Ultimates Duke, Big John Stud, and Storm Collectibles Balrog. Okay, so my final thoughts on the G.I. Joe Classified Snow Serpent. There's a lot to like with this figure, but unfortunately there are also a few grumbles. So let's get those grumbles out of the way first. Straight off the bat, this is not a cheap figure. It is considered a deluxe item, and when you look at it, it certainly is deluxe. But on closer inspection, a lot of it is just reuse. The inclusion of the backpack, the rockets, and the rocket launcher, it just feels like filler. They've just thrown it in rather than sculpt a brand new ground mortar, which is what the original one had. Also, the inclusion of the dagger with no place to actually put it on the figure, again, it feels like filler. They've just thrown it in to pad it out. In terms of the snowshoes, I can kind of give those a pass. It would have been nice if we had the original netted snowshoes that the vintage figure came with, but I can kind of understand that. It doesn't really feel like there's enough unique accessories here, apart from the wolf pelt. Also, one thing I don't like is, and that's not just about this figure, but most figures lately, the softer plastic they're using for the accessories. It's so bad that I'm just buying third-party accessories to put with my figures. The plastic is often bent when it comes out of the packaging. You have it in their hand for a while, it bends around their arms. It's just really, really poor, low quality stuff. And it's a shame because the sculpts are getting better. They're also coming out with some better ideas for the actual sculpts. Just improve the actual material that you use, Hasbro, please. So grumbles aside, it's a great figure. It really, really is. Everything else about it works. It's got a fantastic look, and it really, really does pay tribute to the original Snow Serpent. As soon as you get it in hand, it has some weight to it. It feels like a beefy figure, and I really, really like that. I really like that these figures are now a little bit more unique. They're not just rehashed and reused from other parts. Certainly we are going to see more and more as the line increases, but for this one, I'm happy so far. One thing that I could take or leave, however, is the wolf pelt. It's a nice inclusion, but for me, it just kind of doesn't go. It just feels a little bit, I don't know, overburdened, I guess is the word I would use. You put it on him and he looks like he's got a lot going on, but that's just my opinion. Everything else about the figure, the sculpting, the paintwork is very, very nice. There are just those few grumbles, as I mentioned. In terms of recommendation, yeah, I can recommend it. Probably not at this price. I do think that it's not worth this price. If it was to come down $10, absolutely. Plus, this is essentially an army builder, so it would be nice if you could have 2 or 3. And I dare say that Hasbro will also release another Snow Serpent, similar to the one that I mentioned earlier with the yellow and the purple. So it'd be nice to see that. We'll probably also see some reuse. So that about wraps up this review. I certainly hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you have, do give it a like and consider subscribing. And until next time, take care.